Hello there, welcome to Back to the Good Life. My name is Nikki and we're in my kitchen today because we're going to be looking at how to turn this garlic into this garlic powder. So are you looking at how to make your own garlic powder at home? Garlic powder is really easy to make. It will save you a lot of money from buying it in the shops, and you have the benefit of knowing exactly what is actually in what you're using, which what we use is garlic and garlic only, really. Using garlic powder is a great way to add flavour to your home cooked meals, especially if you don't have the time or the desire to chop up fresh garlic and pop it in there. Garlic powder is also incredibly healthy for you. We all know the health benefits of eating lots of garlic, and in this house we absolutely love garlic, whether it's fresh, whether it's dried, powdered, smoked, roasted, whatever way garlic comes, we absolutely enjoy it. So today we are going to look at how to turn our lovely little bulb of garlic here into a really healthy garlic powder. Now I will warn you, you will need a lot of garlic to get not a lot of garlic powder, but this stuff is super concentrated, so you don't need a lot of it in your meals. And the bonus is you can add it to all sorts of things, whether you're making a bolognese, or maybe you're making another type of sauce, maybe a soup, anything you can really add it to. Obviously, I'd probably stay away from things like smoothies, but hey, you do you, I don't mind. So, without further ado, let's hop on over to the work surface and see if I can show you how to make this powder. It's super simple, so hopefully you can join along with me. There's a few things you're going to need when you start making your garlic powder. The first thing is obviously bulbs of garlic. I've got quite a few bulbs of garlic here, as you can see. These are just standard shop bought garlic. We did try growing some garlic last year. They were okay. They didn't come out very big, but they were okay and they tasted lovely. But today we're just going to make it out of simple shop bought garlic. We do tend to buy quite a lot of garlic. As I said, we do love it in this house. You're probably going to need more garlic than you think you're going to need. This jar here, I don't really know the size of it. What I will do is I'll figure out the size and I'll pop it along here somewhere. But this jar here, to fill it about halfway up, I think last time I used about 8 bulbs of garlic. It might have even been about 12, but we'll do it together today and see how we go. So as you can see, it's around about a quarter of a jar full at the moment, maybe not even that much. I'm hoping to at least get it to about halfway through. This garlic powder does last probably around about 6 months on the shelf, and as you can see there, I've also got some oxygen absorbers in there just to help it stay nice and dry. I can't say for sure how long it lasts, because in all honesty we use it within a few weeks, but normally with dried things it's around about 6 months on the shelf. The other piece of equipment you're probably going to want to use is a dehydrator. Now you don't need to have a fancy dehydrator. We have really just one of the very cheap simple dehydrators. I've had it for absolutely years. You don't actually need a dehydrator. You can make garlic powder in an oven on a very low temperature. However, a dehydrator does make it a lot easier. A ninja tip, what you will also want to do is, if you have a dehydrator with very large holes in the trays, is to get some greaseproof paper or parchment paper if you're from the US. Pop it up and cut it up into rounds so that you can actually lay your garlic mash that we're going to be making on top of it. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So the equipment that we're going to need today is just garlic, dehydrator, half decent knife and a chopping board. If you've got a blender of some description, or a food processor or a bullet blender, then you can make the job go a little bit quicker, but it's really not necessary, so don't worry too much about that. I will probably end up using mine today because once you've peeled a couple of bulbs of garlic you get a bit bored with cutting them up. So let's get on with the task. Okay, so as you can see here, we already have a really nice pile of peeled garlic. And so this is fine if you want to work with just this stuff. It is absolutely fine. You can do that. This kind of stuff here, as you can see, this one here's got a little bit of a blemish on it. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. I know it's a fairly fresh garlic, so I'm not too worried that that's got a little bit of a blemish. There was another one here. You can see I've got a little bit here who's kind of a bit sprouting. But again, this kind of stuff doesn't really bother me, as long as obviously there's nothing that's kind of rotten and anything like that. We don't want any of that in our garlic powder. But if it's got like a little blemish on it, I'm not really too bothered. If it has got some of this kind of papery covering on it, I'm also not too worried about it. I try and keep most of it off when I'm making my garlic powder, but equally, if a little bit works its way into the powder, it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, I'm gonna finish chopping up all of these pieces of garlic here, all of these different garlic cloves I've got ready here, and then I shall join you again when it comes to chopping them up and getting them ready for the dehydrator. So as you can see here, I've actually got a piece of garlic that's got some sort of blemish in it. I don't really know what it is. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop into it to find out how far down it goes. Here we go. We can see that actually it's oops, a bit of fluff there. It's actually just a surface blemish. Let's see if I can get it up in the camera here. That bit I'm not going to keep in, so I'm just going to discard that. But this bit here, as you can see, there's nothing on the inside of it, so I'm happy to pop that in my pile. So now we have a nice pile of garlic here. As I said, there was about 8.5 bulbs of garlic. Some of them are really massive, like this one, which appears to be kind of a triple one. But some of them are just kind of normal sized garlic. Now, there's two methods to be able to chop this garlic up. Ideally, you want it to be as small as possible. I'm going to show you the easiest method, and then I'm going to show you the slightly more tricky one. So the slightly more tricky one at first, but is the low-tech version, is just grab a bulb or two of your garlic and then start slicing it up really, really thin like that. There we go. So you can see all these thin bits here. I like to then just keep on going across and chop it up a bit more. And you can bring a few more pieces of garlic in as well. So you can just keep on chopping like that. And you'll see eventually that you'll get this kind of you've chopped it down to a really fine texture. This is absolutely perfectly fine to do, and as I said, this is how I've done it generally for years, to be honest. So just keep on chopping it like that and moving it around, bringing it in so that you're getting rid of all of the big pieces of garlic. We don't want to have any really big bits, because then it will dehydrate slightly unevenly, and we don't really want it to dehydrate unevenly. So as you can see here, this is beginning to look pretty good here. You can see that it's very small pieces of garlic here. We've got a couple of big bits like this bit here. Obviously I'll chop that down on this bit here, but this is a lot smaller and it will dehydrate a lot evenly. You can, if you really want to, if I move that to the side for a second, this works if you're doing smaller batches or if you've got quite a lot of patience, you can just do very, very thin slices like that, and then what you'll end up doing is laying those slices down onto the dehydrator tray like that. I've got quite a lot of garlic here, so to be honest, I've not got the patience to do it in thin slices. But what I am going to do now is I'm actually going to show you the quicker method of doing this, which is the method I actually prefer. Okay, the method I actually prefer is to use a blender. This is just a bog standard bullet blender. I think it's like a cheap version of the Nutri bullet blender. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plunk all of my garlic in this blender. You might want to do it in two goes, but you don't always have to be honest. And then we're going to whiz them up in the blender, so it should become like a bit of a pulpy paste type thing. I'm actually going to pop this garlic that I've already chopped in there, just so that I get it all to a nice even consistency here. So pop that all in there like that. Here we go. Everything should be in there. And then let's whiz it up. So all of my garlic is in my blender, and I'm now just going to whiz it up. With these type of blenders, you want to pulse them first rather than doing it straight away because you can burn out the motors, especially if it's like this one is a cheaper one. But here we go. Then what I like to do is give it a shake and then do it again. You might need to do this a few times. So as I said, garlic pulp and garlic itself is quite sticky and oily, so give it a bit of a tap. Just try and get all the garlic off of it, and then give it another couple of pulses. And here we are. So here we are with our lovely garlic pulse, as you can see there, a nice bit of garlic pulp. Let's see what it looks like inside, shall we? Nice. Absolutely delicious. So you can see it over there. It's all lovely and done. As you can see here, it's kind of a nice pulsed kind of garlic pulp. If I kind of put it in my fingers there like that, it looks, to be honest, there we go, kind of put it in my fingers here. To be honest, it looks pretty horrid, but it smells delicious, and even more, it's going to taste delicious. So that's all I'm worried about. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this garlic pulp onto our dehydrator tray. So I've got one of my dehydrator trays here. You can see it's actually already got stuff on it. So here I've got some dehydrated broccoli ends that we use. We can put these in our greens powder. Over here is some dehydrated mushrooms, just like the ends of mushrooms and the skins of mushrooms. Again, we powder that up and pop it in mushroom powder. I've got a couple of peppers that are kind of working their way to be dehydrated. I'm going to leave these in here because they don't need to go anywhere. But these bits, I'm going to take them off of the sheets and I'm going to start putting my garlic pulp on there. So as you can see with these sheets here, they are just made out of parchment paper. You can buy special silicone trays for these, but in all honesty, this is cheap, it works, it's dead easy to do. I only like to put 3/4 on there, as it were, so that we've got a little bit of extra space with some airflow over here. I just find that makes it a lot easier. What you're going to want to do now is get your blender or get your pulp of garlic, no matter how you've done it, and just start to remove that garlic pulp and just pop it on the parchment paper or the greaseproof paper, depending where you are in the world. It's a bit of a tricky job. I find a silicone spatula is probably the easiest way to do it. If you have another way of doing it, I'd love to know what that is in the comments, because this is a great community to help share knowledge with each other, and I can learn from you guys then, which is always fun. I actually made this garlic powder when a friend of mine was over a few weeks ago, and she was so excited. She was like, "You need to teach people how to do that." And I was like, "Oh, I thought it was quite easy, really." But so it was actually my friend who gave me the idea for this video, so thanks to her. Okay, so we're spreading out this lovely garlic pulp here. So if we take some out, you can see it on the spatula here. Really tasty. We're just going to start popping it on the trays. You don't want to make the layers too thick. As I say, I've got more trays. I've got more sheets as well that I can make if needs be. You actually want to spread it out really nice and thinly, much like icing a cake. Again, I probably wouldn't want to put this on a cake. But then again, we do love garlic so much that I'm pretty sure garlic cake would probably taste quite good. No, actually, that would taste horrible. Garlic's definitely a savoury thing. So yeah, just spread it out like this. You really want it to be nice and thin, probably about 1/2 centimetre. I'm not sure what that is for my American friends. Is that 1/4 of an inch? 1/8 of an inch? I don't know, we use centimetres over here. Unless I'm dressmaking, in which case I always use inches, because it's much easier to measure dresses in inches. But yeah, so we want to just spread it out nice and thinly. It doesn't have to be neat at all. This is why I find a silicone spatula is a lot easier, because things don't stick to it quite as much. It does make it more simple to do. So spreading that out into the corner there, you can see there is actually a large bit of garlic there which didn't blend down. I might chop that, or I might just leave it, to be honest. I'm not really that worried. It should dehydrate okay. Oh, I've got a little bit that's gone over the side there. I want to try and keep it to just onto the greaseproof paper quarters, because otherwise what happens is things shrink as they dehydrate. And these trays have actually got quite large holes, as you can see here. You can see my fingers underneath them here. So with these large holes, things might end up going through and they end up falling into the dehydrator, and it means I've got to clean it. And as you can probably tell from my kitchen here, it's not always the cleanest and tidiest of place. Clean, yes, but definitely not tidy. So I'm not a tidy person. Okay, let's spread this out on here. Looks like I'm going to have to use another tray. That's absolutely fine. I've got another tray ready and waiting for me. It's currently got breadcrumbs on it, would you believe? Actually, if we've got extra bread and it's going to get to the point where it starts to go mouldy or anything. Not if it has gone mouldy, obviously, but if it's going to get to the point where it's going to start to go mouldy, we actually pop it in the dehydrator, and then we make, if I can find the hen, we make dehydrated breadcrumbs. So this is dead simple, exactly the same method. You just pop the chunks of bread onto the tray. If you've got actual crumbs already, pop them onto a sheet like this. I can show you, actually. This is my bread tray. I've already got it. So as you can see here, we've got chunks of bread that are fully dehydrated already. And then I've got some, looks like I've got some extra green powder in there. I've got some breadcrumbs that were kind of already crummy, so I already decided to dehydrate those on a little tray like that. But again, just pop them on there and get them ready to dehydrate. So let me sort these two trays out and I will be back with you in a second. But as you can see, I've now got 2 trays full of this nice garlic pulp. This garlic bulb did not whiz down at all, very much at all really. I'm thinking I might end up re-whizzing them up, but I'll see how they are, to be honest. I'm not really too worried. So we've got a couple of trays here. As I said, I want to make sure I leave some space here so that they can actually kind of keep the airflow through. This tray does look a bit stained. They do get stained after a little while. It's just one of those things. We're on parchment paper today, so it's not a problem, but I might pop this one through the dishwasher again after I've done the garlic today. So what I'm going to do is just going to pop it in the dehydrator, leave it in there for probably a good day or so. I'll probably end up leaving it on there overnight, and then we'll come back tomorrow morning and see what it feels like. Welcome back to my wonderful friends. It's actually a couple of days later than I was intending to, but we're just about ready to get the trays of our garlic powder out. Let's have a look to see how they are looking. Now, you might notice a little bit of green tinging to some of our garlic powder. It's absolutely fine. It just means that we had a little bit of a strong garlic. It's fine to eat, don't worry about it. So if you're making garlic powder at home, the thing that you need to be looking for is that the mush that you put on there is now really crispy. So you should be able to hear that. Ready? I'll put it up to the microphone. Oh, nice bit of ASMR for you there. But it should be nice and crispy, because once it's nice and crispy, it means that it's all nice and dehydrated for you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab our blender jug and then try and get it into the thing so you can actually see what we're doing. Try and get the garlic in here. So I'm going to peel it off the back like this. You should see it like this, kind of cakey piece of garlic here. It's nice, like garlic pizza. Nice and flat. So just easiest way is grab hold of the jug and just break it up and pop it in the jug like that. Should go in nice and easy like that. Good. Do that with every single one that you've got. So we've got another one here. Just peel it off the back. It should be nice and easy to peel off the paper. If you find that your paper's got a little bit sticky over time, might be time to recycle it. This is why I don't mind using baking paper to do it. You don't have to break these up a lot, but I find it's easier just to kind of break them up and pop them in there. I've got quite a few bits here, so... Oh, I've just torn a bit of paper. That doesn't matter too much. So again, break it up, pop it in here. It's ready to go. It might be a little bit oily, as we found out when we were making the garlic powder. It can definitely be a bit oily and sticky. There we go. Break it all up and pop it in the jug. So now we've got our sheets of garlic powder in here. Make sure that you get all of the bits that are dehydrated in it. If you've got a few that need a bit more dehydrating, that's fine. You can put them back into the machine here. Like here, I've got a bit of garlic here that didn't quite get, you can see it here, there we go. It didn't quite get all mushed up when I did it the first time around. I'm just going to leave that in my dehydrating trays. I've got another couple of bits here, as you can see. Oh, I should really have made sure these were all mushed up, but I didn't do that, so it's not a problem. So I'm just going to pop them back on the dehydrating tray like this. Just going to pop them back on the dehydrating tray like this, and then when I pop the dehydrator on again later on, because I'll be making green powder, I'll do the same thing. So I've got another large bit of garlic here that's not dehydrated. So you can see the big bits there didn't dehydrate. Not a problem. It's not going to cause too much of a problem. So pop the garlic crisp. I suppose it's like garlic fruit leather type thing, isn't it really? Pop that all in there. I might be able to do it in stages if it's particularly sticky. This one's particularly sticky. And then you can see there's a nice big bit of garlic here that probably hasn't dehydrated overly well. So I'll pop that in there. Balls over the side, just pop it back in, so long as your surfaces are clean, that's the obvious thing. Okay. I have to say, my house smells absolutely incredible from all of this garlic being dehydrated, and it's made me very, very hungry, which is not good when you're trying to be on a diet. So yeah, put that there. Oh, I love the fact that it comes out like this really thin and crisp. It's so cool. But yeah, break it up, pop it into your blender. And here is where the magic happens. So we have a whole blender full of garlic crisp. This is going to become our garlic powder. So grab the blade of your blender. Oops, I've got some extra bits of garlic crisp here. I'm just going to pop it in. Don't want to be missing any, do we? Pop the lid on the blender. And then let's get on with it. So, pops our blender on. It's going to be noisy. Again, you want to pulse it. You don't want to do it really, really quick all the time. So, what I do is I like to give it a bit of a shake. Try it again. And now I'm just going to let it go for a minute or two. Give it another shake. Let's try and make sure it's nice and even. And there we go. Bit noisy, but only takes a couple of minutes, and you should be able to see in here we now have loads of powder. So if I take it up to this camera, you can see, oh, the smell coming off of that is absolutely amazing. Now, what you will find is that when you pop your hand in, you'll feel that it's quite warm. What we need to do, I'll grab my silicone tray from the top here, is, so what you will find that when you pop your hand in here is that it's a little bit warm straight after you've whizzed it up in the blender. What you need to do is what we call condition your powder. So pop it out onto a silicone tray, nice and easy. Again, I like to tap it. Just releases any stuck powder. Pop it on there like that, nice and easy. Move it to the side. You should be able to see it here if I move this down. There we go. And then spread it out so it's nice and fairly even in your silicone tray. I've got like a silicone cake tray here. It doesn't really matter which one you use. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pop this powder here, you can see. You're going to pop it into your oven. Turn your oven on to the lowest level it will go. I think my lowest level is about 50 degrees. By the look of it, yeah, about 50 degrees. Wait until your oven's actually heated up to temperature, and then as soon as it's heated up, turn it off. And then leave your powder in there until your oven's completely cooled down again. What this does is it just kind of rehydrates it again. What this does is it just kind of re-dehydrates it again, which means that any residual liquid or any moisture that was in it, and it will grab in moisture from the blending process, will be dehydrated off. So that's what I'm going to do now. And that really is as easy as it is to make garlic powder. Once your powder is finished conditioning in the oven, all you need to do is pop it into an airtight jar or airtight container. In our powder we also pop in a few of these little silicone silica gel packets. It just helps to keep any extra bits of moisture out of it, so we're not actually putting lots of extra moisture in. But yeah, and then just use it whenever you want. It depends how much you like garlic. We generally tend to love garlic in this house, but if you really like a lot of garlic, around about a teaspoon does a good job. We find that's normal. I don't really know how many cloves it's equivalent to, but a teaspoon of garlic powder normally does a nice job. If you want a bit extra garlicky, put a little bit more in. Always good. But thank you so much for joining us today. It's really, really good to have you along. As I said in the last few videos, we're still quite new at this, so we appreciate any comments or feedback as long as it's good. But please, you know, do all the things like subscribe, hit all the buttons, and we will see you in another video. Thank you very much. Bye.